Welcome back to the Yard of Bricks. Indianapolis Motor Speedway returns to the Integrity Racing League, and once again, it's in its oval form. It's race number 20 on the campaign, and the schedule here brings us back to the Brickyard in a pivotal moment in the championship race. You're watching the Integrity Ignite Series live on FTN, and the Indianapolis Motor Speedway will be the host of the Brickyard 250, the first running of this event on the Ignite Series schedule. I'll be your host for tonight's event. I'm David Kreutz, commentating and producing, and as it stands, 4 minutes left on the timing sheets for drivers to get prepared for all of tonight's racing. It's due to be an exciting one at one of the biggest ovals in all of stock car racing, and now more than 25 drivers are taking to the track for their very first lap times. Chad Mikas among many others who are currently on the circuits. And last time we went racing, of course, it was at the eccentric circuit of the Red Bull Ring. Thomas Bressi came out with the victory in the number 24 and was able to dominate throughout the entirety of the event. Last week, 2 road courses, and both drivers who won their respective races came through in dominant fashion. It was Thomas Bressi who won the Red Bull Ring, leading all but 1 lap, and Ethan Lane in the Octane Series at Watkins Glen leading every lap. So it was all about the road courses and domination in the previous week, but today, once again, a big oval where a lot of drivers are expected to have pace from the front of the field on back. As Thomas Bressi gets going, so does Ryan Potter. Looks like now 6 drivers have taken the time from Nick Tarbuck down to Blake Gordon. And Gordon, the number 9 team machine, can be last on the order right now, 7/10 off of the provisional pole sitting time. Thomas Bressi jumps up to the top with the provisional pole now by 64 1/1000ths of a second over his JTM teammate in Nick Tarbuck. So now that more than half the field has taken the time in rather quick succession, many a time we are still waiting on. Each driver gets 2 laps of qualifying here. Looks like one driver, Ryan Potter, going to be going down to the inside on this lap, and we'll see whether or not Ryan gets the other opportunity to maybe put 1 more lap on the board. But it looks like now he's going to be coming down the back straightaway far slower, and I believe that will be the end of his qualifying run, provisionally in 13th. Now you're going to see Forrest Smith, number 15, coming across the line for Forrest's first lap. Does not look like it's going to be officially counted, and he stays at the bottom of the running order, and he's going to have to go for his one and only this time by. But Forrest a little bit loose up top, and you just slow him down drastically. However, it looks like he'll have just enough in the tank to keep on going. Does not spin out, and he's getting real close to doing so. Forrest Smith gonna have to lock it down, and he's gonna have to pull it off of the circuit as a result. Now Brandon Bernhardt gonna be around the way, rushing down the back straight. DJ Stagner in the number 64, you see him here, and it looks like he's gonna be coming across the line for his first lap. His previous lap times very competitive in practice, and he stacks up here in qualifying. Not the best on his opening lap. He'll have to go for 1 more to get a validated time. Now 19 drivers have officially registered laps. You'll see Kyle Cooper all the way at the back in 19th, and Thomas Bressi currently has provisional pole over Nick Tarbuck and Braxton DeWeese. So Bressi looking to keep the momentum strong from last week and start from the pole tonight. Only a driver like DJ Stagner is one of the few with a chance to maybe upset him here. And coming across the line, Stagner going to be the last of all drivers to set a competitive lap, it appears. Alan Rawell and Forrest Smith have both not gotten to the green flag for their laps, so it looks like Stagner is the last driver with a chance here. He'll be coming out of turn 4 at the speed of about 160 miles an hour flat, and as he makes his way through, he looks to be a little bit off of his overall practice lap speed, and that's going to be a settled lap 53.7, good for 8th, but not much more. And so Stagner going to have to lock it down, and that's all he has in the tank during this qualifying run. Alan Rawell is driving. Looks like he's got very little opportunity to get to the line. Qualifying has concluded, and defending race winner Thomas Bressi will jump up to the pole position. It'll be Bressi and his JTM teammate Nick Tarbuck, or rather JTM teammates a little bit further back in Justin Morton and Matthew Thunhorst. 1, 5, 6. Tarbuck and Braxton DeWeese right there with inside the top 5 as well. And so with qualifying concluded now and drivers getting back on the way here for this warm-up session, you see there's Ryan Potter, Josh Stoltz, the rookie in his very first start here at this 2.5-mile circuit in this league anyway, and only his third start in integrity competition. He's making his way onto the track, as is a majority of the field. Let's get to know the starting grid from top to bottom here from the virtual Brickyard. And in the inside of row number 1, well, it'll be your defending winner, Thomas Bressy, with a pole position here in the Brickyard. It's a 53.603, good for a pole. Right beside him, going to be Nick Tarbuck, and Braxton Uwais is going to be third, about 7/100ths of a second behind. Rob Ackley, 3/1000ths back, is in fourth. Then you'll have Justin Morton in fifth. Matthew Funhorse is in sixth, and 7th place is occupied by Chad Mikas, 53.764. Dead heat with DJ Stagner, but it looks like Stagner's time slightly slower. He'll be dropped down into 8th as a result, with 9th place being Don Stevenson and Chuck Sweeting rounding out the top 10. 11th position on the order going to go to Michael Stroll with a 53.846, and Jacob Fife going to be right beside him. The league owner rounds out the top dozen there in 12th. Car number 12 is going to be position number 13. That's Vinny Tigner alongside Cody Smith, Blake Gordon, Seth Miller. Then from there, see down to the bottom, Ryan Potter and Josh Stoltz, 17th and 18th, that combination, with Sean Carbon in 19th and Kyle Cooper, position number 20. Brandon Bernhardt going to be 21st, and Brad Patton in 22nd, with Forrest Smith 23rd. Brian McFerrin in 24th. The first two drivers not to take a time, Smith and McFerrin. Then going to be Gael Brooks in the 25th position. Alongside him going to be Alan Arawa. Boomer Logan going to be 27th. And the 28th driver, the number 45 of Adam Wood. Andrew Schaub will be the 29th and final driver to line up on the starting grid tonight here. 15 rows, 29 registered for the starting grid in the Integrity Ignite Series Brickyard 250. One of the crown jewels, so to speak, on the schedule, coming through for the very first time in Ignite Series competition, and drivers are still setting warm-up laps as we speak. Currently, fastest time is going to be set by Brad Patton. How will we ride on board here for a lap and see what's going on with the 07? And Patton opting to abort on this lap. He's going to come down and into pit road, and he's going to make a quick pit stop and practice what he's got inside of the cockpit with those skills coming down and in. Of course, going at speed over 175 miles an hour throughout the straights makes it pretty challenging to come back down to 60 miles or less. Let's see what Justin Morton does here. Maybe he decides to stay on the circuit. Morton now going to be navigating those opening 2 turns with ease. It looks like he's going to be working the car, of course, back and forth. A little bit of work on the steering wheel, all the magic. And he's going to slide back and forth here, and he'll keep it together. Now going to be working it back and forth down the straight. It looks like just practicing to see how much he's got in it. Relatively easy for Justin to control as he now kicks it out down turn 3. Now, if you want to watch what he's doing inside the cameras, well, that we can do. Here's a look at the pedal cameras for Justin Morton as he's working it back and forth, and you can see definitely working it both on the gas and brake pedals, and now looks like he will stay on track. Justin Morton providing us multiple camera angles, and one of which is his pedals. Looks like there is going to be a little bit of trouble, and he'll have to put it into the wall. If he wants any chance to keep going here, he'll have to ignore all that damage. And it looks like right now that's exactly what he's doing. There's Brad Patton coming up in the mix, and he will slide as well. Justin Morton getting all that he can out of that car, even with the little bit of scraping he has on the left side. Morton was the second quickest driver in this session, but the fastest of all, it's going to be the 07 of Brad Patton. Brad now going to be absolutely destroyed, but he's the quickest driver in final practice. Lap time, quickest of which with a 53.7 5-6. And so it's time to move on to our starting grid for tonight's event. Going to be 29 drivers lining up here at the Yard of Bricks, looking to give it their best shot in hopes to find victory lane. So it's going to be Thomas Bressi down at the bottom side, Nick Tarbuck right up top, a familiar front row with proven race winners. Thomas Bressi recently getting that third victory on his campaign at Watkins Glen. One of only 4 drivers who finds himself locked in so far. The playoff picture is still wide open for the drivers in this field, and you can see it right here now on your screen. It's going to be a battle, and a challenging one at that, with Justin Morton, Thomas Bressi, Braxton Deweese, DJ Stagner, the 4 drivers locked in. For the drivers who have already won so far, well, they find themselves at an advantage, but you can see with how many winners we've had, and it doesn't mean they're locked in. Mikas, Thunhorst, Ackley, Sweeting, Fife, Stroll, Brad, Patton. All one-time winners. Then you have 4 spots left over, and it comes down to Nick Tarbuck, Don Stevenson, Blake Gordon, and Vinny Tigner. Tentatively in 15th. Those are the drivers who have not won, who are currently in position for a chance at the championship. Not a guarantee they make it. Not a guarantee anyone besides those big 4 make it. But a victory tonight for some of those one-time winners could work magic. I know a driver right now who would be looking for exactly that outcome. Take a look right behind. There's Rob Ackley in the number 22. Rob right now finding himself in a good position in qualifying anyway. 4th place on the order. And now he makes his way up here in another big circuit. Environments like this, Rob Ackley seems to have most success in. Don't count it out tonight. I feel like he's going to show these drivers, of course, what he's got in store with tire management. Remember, he did a fantastic job at the other 2.5-mile non-super speedway we went to, Pocono. It was a double top 3 with his teammate Michael Stroll, who got that fantastic victory for the number 3 camp. Well, remember, Ackley was a major part of that victory. He ended up finishing just behind Nick Tarbuck for 3rd overall, and Ackley's here once again. It's a very similar track in terms of length, and one of those turns that Pocono has is modeled after this very circuit. Maybe Rob Ackley using some lessons from that event to find himself back in front once again. He's ahead of his teammate right now in qualifying, and he'll be finding himself on the 2nd row to begin tonight's festivities. iRacing official pace car going to lead the way down and into turn 4. In tow, Thomas Bressi, who won last week at the Glen, looking to keep that lap leading streak alive. Overall, he's been fantastic. Nick Tarbuck up top as well. He's still looking for a chance to lock himself into the playoff picture. iRacing official pace car is going down and in here and now. The Brickyard. Well, it looks like these fans have been waiting more than a year and a half for an opportunity like this. 250 miles at America's most famous oval circuit. With over a century of history, the Ignite Series cars get to go past the bricks for the first time in green flag condition. Green is on the way here at the Brickyard 250, and Thomas Bressi will lead the field in the turns 1 and 2 to kick off the night. So Thomas Bressi going to find himself now leading the way in the opening lap. He gets away single file. He's got Nick Tarbuck. Then behind him. Then you have Braxton Deweese, Justin Morton, and Matthew Thunhorst to round out the top 5. Chris Deweese in the chat room to open up the night. Great to have you here. We are just getting started, not only in this race, but of course the week of action here live on FTN. Thursday night, expect the return of the Highline Racing League, an exciting series that will bring you action all throughout the rest of the year. 2023 going to end with a bang. And right now, of course, we're just getting started, and a few of these guys in the Integrity Ignite series run in that series as well. DJ Stagner, former champion. He finds himself a champion in this series too, but in the Highline Racing League, he's got a reputation for success. Right now, looks like that number 64, the Raging Cajun team, well, they're up inside the top 10 and looking to keep it there as the leaders get away up at the front of the field. Sean Carmody is returning to number 40 once again, and as it stands, Sean's going to find himself in the 18th position, just beyond the confines of the top 15, battling with rookie Josh Stoltz. Stoltz stays to the inside. Brad Patton looking at both drivers as maybe somebody can pass in due time, because Brad's already going to be right under Josh Stoltz, and he's waiting, biding his time, and looking for the perfect opportunity. How about now up in front, there's Chad Mikas. He's going to be in 7th. And Chad right now, well, he's got himself in a good position once again, as he has always found himself throughout the season. His versatility has been his biggest strength so far. And for Chad, understandably, having to rebound after 2023, he's done so in a massive way, and it looks like the momentum has not cooled off a bit, even coming after summer break. He's top 3 in the regular season point standings and finds himself in a very comfortable spot to lock himself in with a few more good runs. Just 2 or 3 should seal the deal and do the trick for the man in the number 25 right now. We've got onboard cameras from a lot of drivers tonight, the most we've ever had here on FTN, and we have more than half a dozen cameras to choose from, so we can take a look at Chad Mikas right now. Here's a look at the number 25, and it's not going to be in the virtual cockpit, but in the real one. And right now, Mikas getting himself prepared. Of course, you can see he's got quite the in-depth racing setup, has himself locked in with the NASCAR style steering wheel and an entire room all dedicated to racing memorabilia. So Chad Mikas locked in tonight, and you can see right now he finds himself locked down in a really good position. Rob Ackley going to be 6th. Matthew Thunhorst going to be 5th. Just ahead of him here. Looks like he's comfortable just lying where he is and being the final driver currently in that opening pack, until, of course, you see some minor breakaways further on back in the field. Mikas getting away from DJ Stagner. It looks like that's going to give him a minor advantage to hang on to a guy like Rob Ackley. Speaking of Ackley right now, for Domination Intimidation Racing, 6th and 7th. That's where the team runs, and Ackley is going to be their leading driver, even though he fell down 2 positions in the qualifying to race transition in these opening 5 laps. Don Stevenson going to be especially loose, and it looks like for him he'll save it, but he'll lose a few positions on the way to putting it back together. Unfortunate there for Stevenson, but he's going to hang back behind Jacob Fife in 10th, and that's the only way he's going to recover himself. Luckily, looks like it's not going to be any major losses in position, and he'll have Chuck Sweeting to back him up before falling into the clutches of Vinny Tigner in the second big pack. Vinny going to be leading now. Cody Smith, Sed Miller, Brad Patton, Blake Gordon, Sean Carmody, among others. Now, a big deal for Vinny Tigner tonight is staying ahead of Cody Smith. If he does not do so, he will find himself out of the playoff picture. And with only 3 races to spare from this point onward, you cannot afford to lose that playoff status, especially now, given the fact that Cody Smith is beginning to come into his own with some more solid runs. Vinny Tigner would firmly be locked in if it was based on irregular points. However, one of his biggest weaknesses is winlessness, and as a result, unless he really puts it together tonight, Vinny finds himself in another spot where he does not have a bad run going necessarily, but again, well, he's just not in a position to go out there and win, at least for now. If you take a look off the back end of the number 12 machine, you'll see he's got quite a lot of pressure to look back on and have to figure things out by himself. So what's going to be done now for Vinny Tigner? That is a question. On the other side of the battle, Cody Smith has to be a little bit more aggressive perhaps than usual as we take a look on board now in the number 18's cockpit. Well, for Cody Smith, he finds himself only 8 points behind as we speak. Now, that is a margin that could go either way. In all honesty, it could take one bad race from Vinny Tigner and one good race from Cody Smith to completely shift the way we're looking at the playoff picture. Although Cody Smith in the wall and the number 18 machine now in trouble. Right side damage for the number 18 of Cody Smith. Seb Miller just got by, but Cody Smith loses several positions and falls behind his playoff rival and rapidly does so. So Cody Smith now going to be on the back foot yet again. You take a look at that number 18 team, and it looks like now they've got a lot of work to do to catch up even further. He was just behind Vinny Tigner, and now it looks like he's going to be a world of positions further on back. Bad news now for Cody Smith as he drops down to 17th from 14th on the order, and Vinny Tigner going to remain exactly where he is, actually breaking away from most of the drivers behind him with the exception of Brad Patton. Patton, the man who started in the 22nd position tonight, and it looks like ever since that point he's been able to make it up 8 positions now, up to that 14th spot. Top 10, very minimal movement, so if you look at Brad Patton here, one of the drivers getting some of the most action on the track tonight. Blake Gordon and Seb Miller now going to be going at it, and Blake Gordon down on the inside here. He'll cut low. It looks like he's got enough momentum now down the back straightaway to at least give it a fight. Seb Miller going to be working with Cody Smith. Smith looking under the both of them, but Blake Gordon clearly has the edge, and that's going to send Seb Miller up top. Might have a chance to shuffle him out for 2 positions. Cody Smith stays right there with Miller. Can't quite make a pass, and so Seb is going to slot back in yet again. 9 laps in out of 100, and we're only getting started here, but for Sebastian Miller, facing a little bit of that mid-pack pressure here, looks like for the time being, he will hang on. So for Seb Miller, he's in 16th as it stands. Doesn't find himself in playoff contention unlike the drivers he is sandwiched by. In all honesty, for Miller, the goal would be to just keep on moving up, which of course is the goal for every driver, but very little to lose right now for that number 83 campaign. Looks like if he just keeps his sights set on continuing that progress up through the field, we could see one of the better runs out of this number 83 crew that we've seen all year long. His most impressive, no doubt, coming at the USA International Speedway, battling with the likes of Jacob Fife and eventual race winner Braxton DeWeese to claim the throne of that Lakeland, Florida circuit. However, it looks like tonight, once again, going to find himself in the middle of the ever-competitive field. And so far, no driver has really broken away. Thomas Bressie, 10 laps in at the front of the field, has done a great job keeping that lead. And it looks like so far, no competition. Bressie's got a 7/10 advantage now. Nick Tarbuck going to be there in the runner-up position. Well, we're hearing from the chat room, they say second is the new first, and I would surely believe the number 29 would love for that to be the case. Nick, well, he's watching one of the most competitive drivers in the field once again do his thing, and maybe that victory at the Red Bull Ring snapped Thomas Bressie out of almost what seemed to be a little bit of a competitive coma, shall we say. A few strings of bad races for the 24 team, even despite victories at Circuit of the Americas and Dover, but it wasn't the Thomas Bressie of last season. Bressie was the overall most consistent driver of 2023. Not a champion in either season, however, he did rack up the most points, and Nick Tarbuck was not too far behind. Nick tonight knows one thing: he's one of the few drivers who's eligible for the championship in both series. He is one of only 4 race winners in the entirety of the Integrity Octane series. He has himself 4 wins, and he's part of that big 3 group that have won 19 of 20 races on the season. Keep in mind, no races had under 20 participants, and Daytona does count toward that statistic as well, as does Talladega. The big 3 have been unstoppable, and Nick Tarbuck has turned himself into a force of pure domination in that series. Here in the Ignite series, well, not quite. It's been much harder for someone to really come out and say they're the dominant driver of the series, and Nick Tarbuck once again facing that struggle. Nick, for the time being, second as it stands. He's gotten away from Braxton DeWeese and Justin Morton alike, who remain rather close. And points leader Braxton Deweese, rather quiet since we've returned from that summer break, but he finds himself firmly put into the picture for the championship race. Doesn't have to worry about much here in the regular season, and now sights are set on getting prepared for the rest of the campaign. We'll be going racing week after week from this point onward with only one off week, which will be Labor Day weekend. And then from there, we go until the end of October, October 21st and 22nd, championship week in the Integrity Racing League. We're going to be ending a little bit earlier than we did last season. You might remember the Octane Series went as late as early November. However, getting an opportunity to settle this season down, a 30 position, of course 30 race series, and a lot of positions to be gained all throughout. This is the 20th race of which, so we are 2/3 of the way into the championship battle, and we get that points reset when all the drivers who are locked in officially are confirmed, and that's when things get dicey. Seb Miller going to remain now with Cody Smith. It looks like Cody just got by. Not half bad there for the number 18 machine, and he has just made his move up to the 16th spot. Brad Patton, 14th right now, and he's eyeing up Vinny Tigner. He's gotten closer and closer each and every lap, and now the gap between the two of which, less than 2/10. Let's ride on board now with Brad Patton 07 as he continues his onslaught, pursuing the top 10 and maybe beyond. He's up currently 8 positions from his qualifying spots. Now looks like Brad gonna have the advantage going into turn 3. He'll dive low, and that looks to be all he needs to take the position. Vinny Tigner gonna concede rather quickly. Don Stevenson gonna be looking on as he's in the 14th spot, so Vinny falls back to 13th. Brad Patton inside the top dozen, and so he'll move on to facing off against potentially Chuck Sweeting and Jacob Fife right ahead. For the time being, Chuck Sweeting is going to be in the 11th position. Winner at Texas has been quiet ever since, and after getting what we expected to be that breakout win, Chuck Sweeting has gone back to finding himself all throughout the field from front to back and has admittedly not found consistency anyplace else. Chuck was bound to get a victory based on his 2023 performances where in limited starts he showed top 5 pace. And right now has that top 10 speed once again as he goes down to the inside on Jacob Fife and is looking to confirm himself as the 10th quickest man on the field so far. 16 laps in, another move made there by the number 75 crew. That will move Chuck Sweeting up and in to the 10th position. So now Jacob Fife going to fall out of the top 10 for the first time all night long since it began. Jacob Fife going back to 11th, one spot up on his qualifying position, and he started alongside Michael Stroll. Meanwhile, Michael tonight in a different paint scheme. It's not going to be the traditional red, white, and blue AC Delco machine, but it looks like instead going to be bringing together the Tasmanian Devil number 3 with AC Delco sponsorship backing yet again. So far, Michael Stroll is up a total of 3 positions. He's gone from 11th to 8th so far, and while not remarkable by any means, he's definitely made consistent gains to put himself up in the fight against drivers like DJ Stagner, and now his teammate in Chad Mikas. Domination Intimidation Racing is running currently 5th, 7th, and 8th, whereas JTM runs 1st, 6th, and it looks like 4th in between. 1, 4, 6 for JTM, and we will see 5, 7, 8 for DIR. And of the top 10, 6 of the drivers coming from 2 of those power teams, so to speak. And Domination Intimidation Racing going to be in the latter half of which, with Braxton Deweese right now, one of the independents, alongside Nick Tarbuck. The only others who are not team affiliated from those 2 teams anyway DJ Stagner with the Swap Motorsports crew, and Chuck Sweeting, who has been running for himself all throughout his Integrity Ignite Series career. So it's a little bit different for those drivers. However, it's the team game that's now beginning to be played. Although it isn't explicit, there are clearly advantages for the drivers who have that good support, and Braxton Weist right now might not be one of which, but he is still up there leading the championship race and currently battling for the second position. Riding on board now with Braxton Weist, and you'll see exactly what's going on inside the cockpit of the number 13. Once again in the real world here. It looks like a very similar wheel to that of Chad Mikus. A little bit darker here in this sim rig, but it looks like all focus is going to be on the displays. Some drivers choosing to have those displays as monitors for their sim racing experience, others of which VR is the way to go. All comes down to preference for these drivers and how they immerse themselves, as they've got the hardware to prove it's just like turning the wheel in the real thing here. So with those, of course, sim rigs being put together, drivers have the opportunity to feel themselves out throughout the entirety of the race, and they all have a variety of differences that allow them to perform at their expected levels. Now, Vic set up series here in the Integrity Racing League, so it all comes down to the driver from there on out to sort of find the best of the car. And right now for Braxton Weist, the highest running Ford of all drivers, the highest running Toyota, you'd only have to look one spot back in fourth place. That's Justin Morton, who finds himself there 19 laps in out of 100 and comes down the stripe again. Fourth on the order with Rob Ackley just behind him. Braxton Weist right now going to be in third, Nick Tarbuck second, and the closest battle once again further on back, Seb Miller and Blake Gordon. It looks like now Gordon going to go to that high side, and he will make the move, getting himself just ahead of Sebastian Miller. Not a half bad move there, and the number 19 moves up into 16th. So Blake is now going to be just outside the top 15 again. Cody Smith making gains from his previous position, and now only one spot would separate he and Vinny Tigner, and that will be Don Stevenson here, who finds himself now stuck in the middle of this battle. Stevenson going to find himself in 14th, about a second and a half ahead of Cody Smith here, so it doesn't look like he's in immediate danger of losing the spot. However, he's got to keep a watch on from this point onward, because potentially we could see Cody Smith make his way in and go for quite the aggressive charge. It's no telling right now what will occur, but there are a lot of possibilities on the table for drivers, so they better watch out in the early going. 21 laps in out of 100, and fuel strategy has not yet been covered yet, indeed, because of one thing. It's not necessarily on those drivers' minds. If we stay green, which so far we have, all eyes are going to be on the field deciding to come in about the midway point. If they want to go long, some drivers might take the safe strategy and split the race into thirds. Those are the usual options on the table in a 250-mile race coming in at 100 laps here in Indianapolis. Either you go on for a 50-lap run and you come down in at about lap 50, you make your way through, and you're locked in to go the rest of the way, no trouble. Or you go for the two-stopper, coming in about 10-15 laps time at lap number 35. Then you come down to pit road again at some lap 70 or so. Then you finish the job, 2 stops, and that is it. It's a safer strategy, and it might be the one some drivers choose to use. However, if you want to maximize position, the opportunity to win, 1 stop is the way to go. We expect many of the competitive drivers in the upper half of the field to go for the 1-stop method rather than taking for 2 overall pit stops. Here's Seb Miller. He's going to be in 17th right now, coming up on Blake Gordon. It looks like Blake is falling back further and further. Not doing so well right now with the long term. It looks like Gordon continues to drop back, and looking at the numbers tonight, while Blake made it up in several positions, he's only 1 spot behind where he started and might be in jeopardy of going down too. So no major gains so far for the driver of that number 19. And it looks like track position to start dictates the majority of the field. The only major exception inside the top 10, it would be Michael Stroll, who started in position number 11. up to 8th, and it looks like now he is the only driver not inside the top 10 to start the race that has made his way up into the single digits. So Stroll has been the large outlier of the day overall, and it looks like otherwise the majority of the field has stayed exactly as is. Braxton Weiss now going to be up and ahead. He is in 3rd, letting the championship leader go by for the runner-up spot. 23 laps in out of 100 here. Seb Miller once again on Blake Gordon. Like Gordon going to get away just a little bit further again. Let's see now what Seb Miller can do as he ride on board with the 83 in the midst of the battle. And he's going to back up the corner looking for a good run out the front straight. It looks like so far Seb Miller decided to continue backing up the corners in opposition to maybe being a little bit more aggressive and charging out and on the way. The FedEx Express number 9 team machine is just trying to hang on to the positions he's got here, hoping not to slip further back because every driver is on an even run of tire and fuel right now. It's not as if he's on an older set that gives a reason for a struggle. Instead, it looks like tonight he's just going to have to figure things out on his own and try to make it to that first pit cycle window, which slowly but surely we are approaching a quarter of the way into this event so far. Brad Patton now going down to the inside on Chad Mikus. Brad going to cut low. He's going to go in now for the 10th position, and that he will take. Moving up to the top 10 from starting outside of the top 20. How about Brad Patton tonight? The biggest mover and the hardest charger by far. And after the mistake he made at the Red Bull Ring, not starting with the field, well, it looks like he's already up here charging further for another competitive finish. So maybe his eyes are set perhaps on what's just ahead of him here, a continued battle which has simmered down, but now looks like Michael Stroll being passed by DJ Stagner gives reason for Chuck Sweeting to have a chance to have a go once again. The number 75 of Sweeting has gotten far and away from Jacob Fife. Jacob now falling down into 13th from where he was up inside the top 10. It looks like Fife's tire may be beginning to wear out a little bit more relative to the rest of the field, but Chuck has been able to hang on, and 26 laps in out of 100. Sweeting in the number 75 remains just behind Michael Stroll, and so he'll stay there. It looks like with no worries about potentially being pushed out of the way with respect to tire strategy. He's got himself locked in now behind the number 3 and might even have a chance to get by him as it all comes down to it. Seb Miller is going to continue fading back here in 17th. Brian McFerrin might get in the mix as well, but as that battle continues, Chad Mikus now coming up again on Vinny Tigner. Vinny's gotten up into 11th, Mikus in 12th, and if Chad comes down the straightaway here, he's going to have a chance to pull down and low. He'll stay back and stay right there with Tigner in opposition to that decision. So, it looks like Chad Mikus for the time being has decided to run right with the number 12, and Vinny's going to stay exactly where he needs to be, just outside the top 10, chasing after Brad Patton, and maybe in the wake of Brad Patton's toe, he has a chance to perhaps make up a few more positions. The Brickyard 250 has really only just begun with 27 laps on the table. Don't expect the leaders to give up just yet. Justin Morton, Matthew Thunhorst, the teammates have come together again, and now they've got Rob Ackley there just ahead of him. Ackley's gotten up to 4th where he got things going. And here we have it. Up and ahead, the number 9 of Justin Morton working down the straight with Rob Ackley there too. There's a big breakaway between 3rd of Nick Tarbuck and 4th of Rob Ackley. And as you can see right now, clear as day, Rob Ackley's going to find himself back to his qualifying position. Took him a little bit of time to get there. However, he has returned and looks to be in good standing to go much further from this point onward in order to potentially come home with another podium. Ackley so far with only 1 win this season. He had himself 2 victories last year and showed the field exactly what was this number 22 team all about. Now, one victory so far, definitely an impressive number given the level of parity we've had so far in this series. However, I'm sure that Rob Ackley knows one thing. He has a lot more under his sleeves, as Seb Miller now going to be right behind Blake Gordon once again. Gordon nearly giving away the spot. Looks like he's going to keep it together, and so he will stay just ahead. Back to Rob Ackley yet again. He's a driver who's seen victory lane multiple times in various different settings. He's gotten himself podiums at all different types of tracks in this league, and now that he finds himself up inside the 4th spot yet again, a podium is definitely realistic, maybe in a victory as time goes on. We'll see, however, of course, Rob Ackley decides to approach this, and he's got a lot of time left to decide whether or not he goes for a more aggressive approach or he stays exactly where he is. 29 laps in out of 100 here, coming up to 30. The 29 of Nick Tarbuck is still about a quarter of a second now off of Braxton Lewis. Hasn't lost all too much time ever since he lost that runner-up position. However, I'm sure now just running in the toe, trying to learn a little bit more from the number 13 who is just ahead of him. Maybe now there's a chance for him to progress further as the night goes on under the wing of this number 13. Thomas Bresci has again gotten far and away, and there's no question that Thomas Bresci is currently, anyway, the quickest driver on the track. Lap in, lap out. That time by, 1/10 of a second quicker than Braxton Lewis. It looks like he still definitely has him in him here, as now Brian McFerrin makes it down and under Blake Gordon. That will send Gordon down into 18th. It looks like all the defense is now going to be wearing out, and Brian McFerrin going to have a chance to go around that number 19, and he will make it look easy. The FedEx number 19 team now going to be up top, and nothing more they can do. Quick pass, and that's all that's necessary, as Blake Gordon now finds himself in the 18th spot. Gael Brooks going to be 19th, and he'll be the next driver looking for a chance. Tarbuck going to be now in 3rd here, just about a 10th and a half behind, so the gap has shrunk. I might see a chance here for the 29 once again to trail and look for the position. Further in the very tail end of the field, it's going to be Kyle Cooper, Josh Stoltz, and Sean Carmody battling each other for a spot. And now that number 43 Machinist Stoltz finds himself barely ahead of Kyle Cooper. This is the fight for 21st overall, and Cooper right now going to be keeping Stoltz honest. Looks like Josh, not a lot of chances so far to break out of the bottom part of the field. Brandon Bernhardt going to be right there in 20th, and he has stayed ahead for the majority of this event. The back half of the field is going to be largely separate besides these few drivers who have kept themselves together from the very beginning. Cooper a run up top there with Josh Stoltz, and we ride on board with Kyle Cooper. Let's see what he does here in the heat of the moments. Cooper right now staying about a 10th and a half behind Josh Stoltz, riding on board here, and you can see Kyle preferential to those upper grooves, whereas Josh Stoltz goes down to the bottom and comes back up on the track with a little bit less momentum down the straightaways here. And it looks like Kyle Cooper definitely quicker now, coming down the back straight yet again. He will peel down to the bottom side, and looky here, the 73 Kyle Cooper looking for 21st. To the inside here, having a chance, going to stay side by side while the door is not shut. Just not enough room to come back up top, and so once again we keep on going with Cooper behind Josh Stoltz. Nick Tarbuck now going to be fading away from Braxton Lewis, but going in the opposite direction. He's fading a little bit further behind rather than making up any time, and it looks like the gains he had previously have all been lost in just a few extra laps. 33 laps in out of 100, and I can't imagine now the drivers will be fully avoiding pit road. It looks like Boomer Logan and Alan Rowell have both gone down and in. They're now going to be far off the field, however. Boomer Logan 2 laps down. 1 lap down is Alan Rawell. And overall, while these drivers are going to be a little bit further back, they do have a chance to recover as the race progresses. If, of course, there were to be a yellow flag or something else were to occur. Thomas Bressi at the line again for lap number 34, while Don Stevenson rolls with Chad Mikus. Mikus right now going to be in 12th, but looks like he's in jeopardy of losing it as Don Stevenson cuts down to the inside, looking low. And number 47 going to make the move, and that will put him inside of the top dozen as Mikus now falls further back than looks like both of his teammates. DJ Stagner makes it in, as does Adam Wood and Blake Gordon. And drivers on the two-stop strategy have already started to kick off the runs down at pit road to open the night. Stagner right now in that number 22 position. Well, that's where he is after he drops down, in among others. And now we'll see how many others decide to take on to that secondary strategy. Maybe it'll be the winning one if many drivers come in. Bressi comes in with Deweese and Nick Tarbuck, and it looks like now the leaders have dedicated themselves to the two-stopper, and that's the way the field will handle things. And so now you'll see there number 24 of Thomas Bressi, among many others, opting to go into pit road. Green flag cycle brings 7, 8, 9, and then some in. And now the entire field marches on in one line. No trouble. It looks like everyone going to be just fine making their way in. A few other drivers decide to stay out, but overall, front runners have decided indeed it is time to head down to pit road. 35 laps in out of 100 in the Brickyard 250, and now Bressi is going to be leading most of the field down and in. Is he going to be the leader out? That remains the question, and as we come across the stripe, it looks like he has overall the advantage. It's going to be then Bressi, Deweese, Nick Tarbuck, Rob Ackley, Matthew Thunhorst, and they come in, relatively speaking, as they come out. Justin Morton now going to be the overall race leader as he heads in down and in alone. Chuck Sweeting second, Don Stevens in third, and Jacob Fife fourth, all of which decide to stay one lap out a little bit extra, and so we'll see whether or not they reap the rewards of instead of going for the undercut, which most of the field did, trying to make things last for a little bit more time, as Morton now decides to opt in. He heads down to pit road alone alongside only a few others, and Thomas Bressi is once again going to reclaim the race lead as he did previously. Chad Mikus now going to be with Cody Smith, battling for what is overall 17th for now. There's Vinny Tigner as well. However, with multiple drivers funneling and fizzling back down, including Chad Mikus and Vinny Tigner, a few positions they'll be granted as a result of this overall pit cycle. We'll see now what happens as Gael Brooks makes his way out of pit road. There's Jacob Fife, and this is going to move up Chad Mikus back into 12th overall, and Vinny Tigner going to be 11th, so it looks like a total reset with those drivers who came in to begin with having the advantage now, putting a full lap in at speed, and that will bring Thomas Bressi, Braxton Deweese back up to the 1-2. Brad Patton now gets up to 8th as he's fully on cycle, and Justin Morton going to be 9th here, falling a little bit further back from his other JTM teammates. Blake Gordon right now 0.2 of a second back on Jacob Fife, and this could be the first opportunity for Gordon to perhaps reclaim some positions that he lost as that previous run went on. He was as low as 18th place by the time drivers went down to pit road, and in large part due to some of the troubles he had managing the long runs with the Goodyear rubber he was holding on to. Now he's got a chance on even playing field again to gain some positions, and we'll see whether or not now he has a chance to maybe make one up on the number 36 of Fife. Jacob, well, he's right there and ahead, so if there's any opportunity now for Blake Gordon to cut through and make up a spot, well, this is about the time. He's going to have himself now, give or take 2 or 3 car lengths behind the number 36 of Fife. Let's see what happens as Gordon keeps on chasing. Additionally, not too far ahead of this battle, there's another one. It's going to be within 0.2 of a second, and it's going to be revolving around Michael Stroll and Right there with them, Brad Patton. Brad has overall continued his stretch up and up and up, making gains ever since he started, and now he's going to be up a total of 14 positions relative to where his action began. At the back of the field, he has been the most aggressive driver, making the biggest moves, and so far it has paid off. And it has paid off, and then some, in all honesty. Brad Patton has found a way to start at the back of the field and still find his way up in front. He does so again tonight, and now he's going to be up in his 7th as a result of that pass right around the outside of Michael Stroll. Stroll is one of the many drivers providing in-car cameras for us tonight, and we can see what's going on inside the cockpit of the number 3 in the real world. And Michael Stroll, a brand new addition here to this non-stop camera work we've got. Take a look at Michael Stroll right now, relying right behind the draft of Brad Patton. Looks like in a good position to stay exactly where he is in that tow. And relying on the draft in these very small packs has become somewhat typical for the entirety of the field. Take your pick at who you have working with you. As it stands, it does depend, of course, where you are throughout the field, but speed built up in numbers at a track like Indianapolis, where the draft is necessary to succeed. And while it's not a super speedway track like Daytona or Talladega, it's clear as day right now. Drivers who are in those smaller bundles have a chance to maybe get those quicker lap times. And as Michael Stroll makes his way around through turns 3 and 4 right now, let's see what happens for Brad Patton as he continues to stay just ahead, and he keeps on chasing now 2 seconds behind Matthew Thunhorst, and another JTM driver facing off against Domination Intimidation Racing's Rob Ackley. Now, a little bit further back, there's Chad Mikas, Cody Smith in 11th, down to 13th, and you have to look a little bit further back to find Ryan Potter in the number 99, running in 21st here. Let's take a lap on board with Ryan Potter before we talk to you about the FTN schedule of the week upcoming for the rest of the weekdays. Ryan Potter right now could be running relatively solid lap times in the back part of the field. Overall, looks like no troubles with his race pace and has not found himself in any unfortunate circumstances. Ryan right now going to find himself admittedly not inside of the top 20 confines. However, there's a lot of time for him to continue improving, running currently in 21st. Potter's one of the drivers who was in multiple FTN series, and coming this Thursday, the first race for season 18 of the Highline Racing League Premier Series. And number 99 carrying a decal we mentioned previously, the Courtney Strong decal, and of course in commemoration, or rather in remembrance of Courtney Body, a member of the Highline Racing League family who tragically passed away just over a month ago. And the entirety of season 18 on FTN, of course, dedicated to the Body family for their continued efforts not only in racing and outside of the sim racing platform. We once again extend our deepest condolences to Dylan Body and the Body family for the loss of Courtney, as we are looking forward to bringing back Highline Racing coverage and celebrating the life that is commemorated tonight on the 99 car. Ryan Potter will be among the many that take to Daytona to kick off the series this Thursday, and we would love to have you there as well, live on FTN. Another big track, another big race, and it's going to come down to 80 laps of racing from the world's center of racing itself, as it's going to be the Swamp Motorsports guys, DJ Stagner, Ryan Potter, looking for another chance at victory. Stagner has found himself as one of the best drivers of these big circuits all throughout the platform, and once again, that reputation is proving to hold true. You know why? He's up now into the 4th position. That's right, DJ Stagner right now going to be hung just outside the podium, and looks like for the time being he finds himself only about a few tenths of a second behind DJ Stagner. Of course, that's going to be Rob Ackley behind, but ahead it's going to be Nick Tarbuck, and Nick overall has been running 3rd for the good majority of the day, but all of a sudden it looks like DJ Stagner may be having a chance to slide inside of the podium and make a move, getting himself up inside the top 3 to continue battling up and ahead. DJ, one of the very first drivers to head down a pit road, and he decided to take advantage of just that. Every driver committing themselves tonight to that 2-stop outlook, and it has worked out so far for DJ, deciding to go in early and dictating the field rather than it being the other way around. And so Stagner, finding himself now in 4th, has himself about a second ahead of Rob Ackley, who now is in a battle once again with the number 8 of Matthew Thunhorst. Matthew right now going to be only about 16/100ths of a second behind. Let's see what happens now with that number 8 team, as it looks like he's got a chance to maybe make it by Rob Ackley in due time if he does not play around here, which it looks like he's got a pretty good chance of making it through. That time by, Matthew Thunhorst was only 7/100ths of a second faster. Not too major, however, definitely a good opportunity for him to now get back up right behind the number 22. Been in the draft for a while now, but it looks like instead of staying a little bit further behind, as most drivers have decided to, aggression might be the way that Matthew Thunhorst has to go about it. With the most podiums of any driver so far this season, Matthew Thunhorst knows what it is, in any sense, to be competitive and consistent. And tonight going to be no different, as he's found himself in top 5 contention all night long. But the question becomes now, what's next? Can he get by Rob Ackley and continue to battle, maybe up there with DJ Stagner, or will he settle for where he is for the time being and maybe have to look a little bit further back? Another battle a little bit further back is about as close. Vinny Tigner, Chad Mikas, Cody Smith, Jacob Fife, all of which now going to be wrapped up within 1 second or so, give or take anyway. And you can see the number 12 of Vinny Tigner. He's got himself just ahead now of Chad Mikas. Gap between the two of which 15/100ths of a second, and still lying back a little bit further with Cody Smith right there too. Take a ride on board now with the number 12 of Tigner from the back end, and you'll see now exactly what's going on with multiple drivers following the 12, looking for a chance to pass. Now it looks like Cody Smith is going to be the next driver behind Vinny, because Chad Mikas is going to make it rather close. The number 12 machine is going to have to keep on working here with Mikas right there with Cody Smith, and Jacob Fife are still a few car lengths behind. All things considered, though, they're still relatively close to the battle at hand. Alan Rawell now going to decide to go down and into pit road. As Alan does so, he will be alone in the matter. Doesn't look like anyone else going to be following his strategy, so this is an unplanned pit stop 20 laps in. And it looks like for Allen, if he wants to make it all the way through this race, would still have one more pit stop to go, and he's going to get off of the circuit. It looks like towing into pit road and potentially calling it a night. So Alan Rawell, 2 laps down as it is, will fall down officially into 27th, and it looks like that will be where his race concludes for the night. Boomer Logan just made a pass on him as a result of that. He's going to move up into 26th. Blake Gordon right now going to be with Brian McFerrin once again. And it looks like Gordon, despite having a big opportunity perhaps to gain some spots, he is right back to where he was before. 13 laps in out of potentially 30-some in this stint, 48 laps total. It looks like Blake Gordon, unfortunately, not finding that upward trajectory, and instead dropping exactly back to where he was. Now Chad Mike is going to go leaning down to the inside, down the front straightaway and into one. Now looks like as he goes through the first bank corner, Mikas makes it up into 11th. And so now Vinny Tigner in 12th spot, going to fall back and lose a spot in this pack, which he has been in control of for the majority of this race so far. We'll see what happens now with Cody Smith and Jacob Fife also there, because Cody Smith, despite having that damage early on in the race and having that right side trouble smacking the wall, it looks like he's made it work. Even though he's going to be passed now by Jacob Fife, he is in tow with Vinny Tigner, and perhaps he's going to let Jacob do a little bit more of the work to get by Vinny Tigner rather than wearing himself out. If Jacob Fife has an opportunity to make it by Vinny and he takes it, there's a very likely opportunity the number 18 of Cody Smith also goes with, and that's going to leave Vinny Tigner down in 14 as a result of the shuffling. We'll see whether or not that officially comes into play, but there's a very, very real possibility that Jacob Fife and Cody Smith get by Vinny Tigner as one. We'll see whether or not that really comes to fruition, but it looks like there's the opportunity at hand for all the drivers in the mix here to maybe shuffle themselves up as Chad Mikas did. Brian McFerrin right now going to be in 18th, and he's going to be just behind Blake Gordon. We'll continue monitoring this battle as we come up toward the official halfway point as Thomas Bressi comes down the stripe to make it lap number 50. 50 laps in, out of 100, Braxton Weiss 0.6 back, and Nick Tarbuck there in third. Well, he's going to be a few seconds behind Braxton for now, but it looks like he's still running solidly inside of the top three. Doesn't have to worry all too much about, of course, any trouble. He's been alone, and he has gotten relatively unbothered, even though it looks like now Rob Ackley is going to be falling down to 5th, DJ Stadner firmly into 4th. Maybe a chance for DJ to pull through and have something for Nick Tarbuck a little bit later. So far, though, we really haven't seen anything of it, and Brian McFerrin right now is still trying to find a way around Blake Gordon. Hasn't quite found it yet, and maybe he's not much a rush. Keep in mind, it took 20-some laps for McFerrin to reel in Blake Gordon previously. He's already gotten there in only 15 laps this time by, which is a clear-cut advantage compared to last time around. At the line to make it 50 laps to go. We've come halfway live on FTN, and with 50 more laps to go. We'd like to thank iRacing Motorsport Simulations for providing the highest quality online racing simulator for 16 years and counting. iRacing has over 100 cars and tracks of any type: open wheel racing, sports cars, stock car racing, dirt racing, road racing, and everything you can imagine. The classics up to the modern age, iRacing is the most up-to-date service for simulation racing throughout the globe. Visit iRacing.com for discounts of over 30% off on all memberships throughout the summer, and we'll be right back after a brief message from our friends at iRacing Motorsport Simulations.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
.48 laps remaining now with Thomas Bressi up and ahead. The Brickyard 250 so far, every lap of which so far indeed led by Thomas. He has been fantastic once again tonight, and from domination of the Red Bull Ring, it looks like Bressi is not done in the slightest. It looks like, rather than what we expected, coming back to an oval, maybe seeing a few more leaders, it's been the number 24 show all over again, and Bressi looking to be the first driver to go for back-to-back wins this season, something unseen all throughout the campaign. So Thomas Bressi looking to make a little bit of history this year and go for that back-to-back victory and stand himself alone with the most wins on the campaign with 4 so far. That would be breaking the tie, of course, with DJ Stagner. DJ so far having a total of 3, and while he's been solid, it looks like tonight DJ is not up there for the race win. He's 5 seconds back and would need a few mistakes to happen up and ahead. Matthew Thunhorse right now going to be in 6th with Rob Ackley right there in 5th. And it looks like still the JTM drivers are split further back. Justin Morton now 8th with Brad Patton moving to 7th. And how about Brad Patton right now still making those gains and still keeping up with the front of the field even after that opening stint, having to work himself much harder than most others in this pack to make it up to this point. Nevertheless, he is here and he is now, and he looks real good chance to get up there for the top 5, and maybe with what's going on here, the outlook with Matthew Thunhorst and Rob Ackley might continue helping him out with the way things are going. We might see Rob Ackley and Matthew Thunhorst fighting with the 0-7 in due time. Let's see what happens here for the coming laps. 46 laps to go. We're up to the 20th lap so far of the stint for the majority of drivers, which means in 10, 15 laps time, expect everyone once again to come down and in. Looks like now Blake Gordon up in the wall, and he'll have to dive down into the pit road, and it's a bit of an emergency. Blake Gordon with trouble. He gets out of the way of the rest of the field, but it looks like his night may be done. Gordon is going to come down and in and pit rapidly, and with no cautions on the table. Well, take a look at what happened here for Blake. It looks like he's up high through 3 and 4, and he hits the wall loose, and there's nothing more that can be done. He'll have to immediately take a dive down a pit road, and that will be the night for the 19 team. Once again, struggling during the long run with that pit strategy work, and looks like tonight it comes to get the better of him. Blake Gordon down and out for the day, and now Thomas Bressi going to be leading with 1 less driver on the field. That will give a few other drivers a bonus position. Gael Brooks up to 18th, Adam Wood 19th, and Ryan Potter is now inside the top 20 after what just occurred. Josh Stoltz and Kyle Cooper, they continue to battle now for 21st, and looks like that's the way things will stay with 45 laps remaining. Matthew Thunhorst is now going to be about 1700ths off of Rob Ackley, and it looks like while the threat has been real all night long, Rob Ackley has been relatively calm and facing up against that number 8 machine. Looks like he's not too concerned in having him right up behind him, and instead is continuing to run his own race, not really having to worry about anything else besides his consistency, hitting his marks lap after lap and trying to find success individually. Has been the way Rob Ackley has rolled all season long, and looks like once again that's the attitude that will prevail, while Matthew Thunhorst still continues to look for an opportunity to dive low, perhaps a little bit more aggressively. That room has not been found, so he'll have to keep on waiting with 44 to go, and you'll see as we ride on board how close he is to finding something. Matthew Thunhorst lies back. 43 laps to go this time by, and he stays right there toe-to-toe with Rob Ackley, and you can see right now the wheel work, the most important thing. We don't have the pedal camera for Matthew Thunhorst tonight, so we're making a lot of the judgment based on what you can visualize in the sim, which is exactly how the drivers work their steering wheels, most of which are running full-on steering wheels in the sim rather than using a controller. And it looks like for Matthew Thunhorst, he is using it very, very leniently. Doesn't have to make a lot of movement to have a lot of action. The banking going to be carrying him through the most, and those delicate motions are helping out with keeping up with Rob Ackley here and not trying to overcook his tires and hoping the tires do a lot of work based on the pushing and the banking, which helps him getting up higher and higher into those rapid speeds coming through the turns. Some drivers going under 150 miles an hour, but nevertheless keeping competitive pace. And the draft right now assisting the most of all of which. 42 laps to go, Brickyard 250, all about the championship race for some of these drivers. And right now, it looks like Vinny Tigner is still just ahead of Cody Smith. A little bit of a refresher for those who have just joined into the championship picture, watching these last few races. As it stands right now, Vinny Tigner is the man on the cut. You can see now the number 12 machine going to be the last driver in the picture, 9 points up on Cody Smith while being 60 behind on Blake Gordon. Now Gordon not going to have a good day today, disconnecting once again early, and now he's going to finish outside the top 25 as such. Vinny going to have a chance to gain some spots, but Cody Smith also staying just behind, meaning that both of which will continue gaining higher. However, they'll still be battling one another within 10 points as the night would stand. Still the advantage Vinny. However, Cody Smith making it a good argument for himself to make it into that championship race if all goes well. Rob Ackley now going to be down into 6th. Matthew Thunhorse did get by for 5th, and it looks like long laps of waiting have turned out in his favor, and now DJ Stagner might be next on the target list. DJ does have an older set of tire by 1 lap over the drivers he's racing against, and that might come back to hurt him here in this final section. Right now, DJ Stagner going to stay ahead. The lap times, though, indicating he might be losing it with respect to lap after lap pace. 60 laps in right now, and that time by, he ran a 56.401. Matthew Thunhorst, a 56.247. 10th and a half quicker, and it looks like now those gains are compounding. As he gets closer and closer to the tail end of the 64, you'll see the draft kick into the favor of the number 8 team, and that's where DJ Stagner's going to lose the most here. If he was tenths off on natural pace, now that everyone's stuffed up together, Matthew Thunhorst is going to have the advantage of having that air broken through at a high speed. Won't have to worry about the pushback all throughout the circuit. And so now Matthew is there right on DJ Stagner, and bringing him with, there's Rob Ackley, both of which should be quick enough to give DJ Stagner a run for his money here. With 40 laps to go, it won't be easy for DJ to hang on, but if he wants any chance to keep on fighting for a podium, that he will have to do. Coming down the front straight once again, DJ going to be still in 4th. Look a little bit further back. Justin Morton still battling here with Michael Stroll, and no longer. Brad Patton going to be up in the mix now, and as Brad has made his way through the other red, white, and black car, he's going to be watching Rob Ackley here, and this could cut the gap in half and maybe sever the gap entirely. If DJ Stagner were to stay just ahead for a few more laps here, you might see Brad Patton and company get in the mix here for the 4th position. And if that does happen, it'll be 5 drivers going for the highest of one position, and maybe for the drivers such as Ackley, Patton, and Morton, their goal would be to make it up a few positions rather than going for 4th overall. Let's see what happens here with DJ Stagner as his defensive efforts continue. Far from done yet, and if he'd like to succeed, he has to keep on pushing. The job is not done. Now Thunder's going to go down to the inside, down the front straightaway, and that's all he needs. That will bring Matthew up into 4th. DJ Stagner remains in the top 5, but it looks like now Rob Ackley going to be left stranded. Thunder's does not pull him through, at least immediately anyway, and now DJ Stagner's tire wear is going to begin to work against him that much more. He finds himself now in a little bit of that dirtier air, and going to be displaced more and more so. With 38 laps to go, like Stagner now going to be put out of line as Rob Ackley goes right beside him and goes right through. Let's see now what Stagner can do to perhaps recover in the final few laps here, if there is any recovery, because here comes Brad Patton, here comes Justin Morton, both of which are looking to make it a completely different fight, if, of course, they can stick up to the back bumper of DJ here. Stagner by no means is necessarily slow, but it looks like now 29 laps into his run with less than 5 laps remaining for him to make it all the way. He's got to hang on here in the battle if he wants any chance to come out there competitively once again. Most drivers have not opted to go down a pit road. In the past 15 laps, only one driver has gone down for service, which is Boomer Logan. Rest of the field has stayed out from Bresci on back, and it looks like they're all comfortable with the prospect of waiting just a little bit longer, even down to the back half of the field like Ryan Potter and Kyle Cooper. Cooper right now, that number 73, going to be the final driver inside the lead lap, save for Brandon Bernhardt. Bernhardt right now going to be on his own, and it looks like 40 seconds behind. Really very little that Brandon can do right now, except for continuing to run his laps and hit his marks. He's got nobody else around him, but the final pack consists of 2 drivers. It's going to be Kyle Cooper and Ryan Potter. Cooper now going to be coming down the back straightaway, and it looks like a little bit slower now than Ryan Potter. Ryan with a little bit more momentum going to get canceled out because of that side drafting force, and that's going to slow down the 99 enough where Kyle Cooper now has a chance to lunge through the inside and maybe take the spot away. Nick Tarbuck going to be coming back up to Braxton Deweese here. Look at how far away the number 29 is compared to the battle for 4th. And we thought for a while there Nick Tarbuck would be further on back from Braxton Deweese, but it looks like Braxton now maybe falling back in reverse. He's not getting up there to Thomas Bresci. Looks like so far tonight nobody's gotten up to Thomas, but instead now it's going to be Nick Tarbuck going down to pit road. He'll drop down it in rapidly this time by. Who else does he bring in with them? Of this group, nobody. And now a few other drivers decide to go in. Brad Patton has just made his way through, and it looks like Nick Tarbuck going to make his way. There comes immediately thereafter Michael Stroll, and Michael, the number 3 machine, one of the first 2 drivers to come in for their final pit stops this time by. Chad Mikas, Vinny Tigner, Cody Smith, more of the same here. And it's time for our final pit cycle today to commence. 35 laps to go, and the early goers are coming in for their undercut. Let's see what happens here as Thomas Bresci decides to stay out. Thomas this time by is going to opt to go in alone, and you can see right now Braxton Deweese decides to stay out for an extra lap. And the undercut from the number 24 is his choice, whereas Braxton now gets credit for leading the first time tonight. Rob Ackley decides to stay out at the line, as does number 07 of Brad Patton now. It looks like Chuck Sweeting making it through, and you see a little bit more division this time by, as opposed to what we saw previously where the majority of the field followed Thomas Bresci. Now with 34 to go, a little bit more division, maybe trying to be a little bit more opportunistic rather than following the leader. DJ Stagner comes in with Thunhorst and Justin Morton, and it looks like DJ didn't fall all too far behind, so as he comes out now with level tire, I can imagine he'll be that much quicker in the fight. He was quick to begin with. Now he'll be on the same level playing field and tire. That is a major advantage now for the 64. He won't have to necessarily work as hard for it. And as you can see, coming down, he's going to take 2 positions as he exits pit road. DJ with a nice jump. We'll see whether or not that exit will be considered legal. But it looks like for now, he gets up there ahead of Morton and Matthew Thunhorst alike. And DJ Stagner again going to cut through, make some gains. And in the battle now for 4th, looks like Stagner might have the clear-cut advantage. Here comes Braxton Deweese coming in as Rob Ackley does, as does Jacob Fife. Ryan Potter now going to be on his way out. 33 laps to go. And here we have it. Deweese is in. Patton now going to cycle up to lead next. And with 68 laps on the book, no wonder that Brad's going to have to come in this time by or the next to officially conclude his pit cycle. 33 laps to go and counting down. Looks like Jacob Fife will be next to follow Brad. As you can see, Patton making his move after 33 laps. The 2 top strategy is the best place to go for Indianapolis drivers tonight, some of which may be going for a 3-stopper based on other circumstances, but 2 stops seem to be not only calm and consistent, but the winning way. Given the fuel load tonight, no chance to make it an even 50-50 split, and as such, looks like now Jacob Fife getting a chance to lead. With 32 laps remaining, we are waiting now on only about 7 drivers to head down a pit road, so it's a vastly different top 10 as Jacob Fife stays out for his own 33rd lap with 32 laps remaining. 69 laps in so far for Fife, and he's done a real nice job now of protecting what he has inside the cockpit, working with the tires, and eventually making it back up to the race lead. It has not been easy, but it looks like Fife has gotten it done, and now it's going to be Don Stevenson about a 10.5 behind, maybe a quarter of a second overall. Then Seb Miller going to be 3rd, Kyle Cooper 4th, Nick Tarbuck position number 5, and 6th, Thomas Bressi. Down and in, Fife going right there with Don Stevenson, and the 1-2 combo going to make their way in and forfeit their race lead. Sebastian Miller decides to do the same, and it looks like now Nick Tarbuck and Thomas Bressi will be the net race leaders with 32 laps to go. Bressi now, for the first time tonight, finds himself behind another driver, but let's see how quickly that will change. Thomas Bressi now going to be making the move a little bit lower, and as you can ride on board with multiple angles here, we're looking inside and outside the cockpit of number 24 of Thomas Bressi. Thomas Bressi on the right side of your screen right now. You'll see exactly what he's seeing with his virtual reality headset as he now looks to take back the race lead by force. Nick Tarbuck there just ahead. And this is what it all comes down to. Top 2 drivers as close as they've been all night long. Opening half of this race has been far and away held by the number 24 of Bressi, and it looks like as long as he stays up here, it's only a matter of time before we see at least a swap or 2 of the race leading places. But Nick Tarbuck will not make it easy. He's been waiting all night long for the perfect chance to get out and in front, and now with Bressi behind him, we'll see how well he can defend against the number 24, who for the time being is hanging back. 31 laps to go this time by, and let's take a look at your overall top 10. Now with 71 laps in the books, it's going to be first, Nick Tarbuck, 2nd spot in Thomas Bressi, Braxton Weiss there 3rd, and DJ Stagner in 4th. Justin Morton going to be 5th, and Matthew Thunhorse is in 6th, with Michael Stroll 7th, Rob Ackley 8th, and Brad Patton in 9th. Chuck Sweeting rounds out the top 10, and right now, further on back, Cody Smith going to be in 21st, once again representing Next Level Racing, the highest quality sim racing performance products on the market. Since 2009, Next Level Racing has had dedicated sim racers covered. Visit nextlevelracing.com for more information after tonight's broadcast and use promo code INTEGRITY for 10% off on every checkout from the website. We'll be right back after the following message with 30 laps to go. You're watching the Brickyard 250 live on FTN, and we'll return after a message from our friends at Next Level Racing. .28 laps to go this time by. The lead battles the closest it's been all night long. And for the first time, Nick Tarbuck now holding the lead on his own, consistently lap in and lap out. Ever since lap 1, it's been Thomas Bressi far and away ahead, but now it's 73 laps in the books. things have changed, and Thomas Bressi now finds himself second after perhaps slowing down on pit road. 49.5 second stop for Thomas Bressi on pit road relative to a 48.9 for Nick Tarbuck, and a gap of only 0.6 of a second. It makes all the difference, and right now for Nick Tarbuck, it looks like those 0.6 have given him a 1/10 of a second lead, more than he's had all throughout the night, and this is the best it's looked for him throughout the campaign. 80 some laps. We're coming up on that point, and pit road will not be used again unless there is any extra damage for drivers. Just what it is, all down to the final moments, lap in, lap out. Let's see whether or not the consistency for Nick Tarbuck and the persistence to get back up here pays off, or if the all-dominant Thomas Bressi has a chance to finish the job without being interrupted any further. Now here comes Josh Stoltz. He's going to be looking right behind the bumper of the number 99. He'll go deep sea diving down to the bottom of the circuit, if of course he has enough speed to do so, but he lets off and decides again to wait a little bit further back, and he'll let Ryan Potter have the corner. Similar battle now happening again with DJ Stagner and Matthew Thunhorse. DJ is in the 4th, Matthew Thunhorse is in 6th, but Justin Morton gets up into that 4th spot, and it looks like the best he's looked all night long. All of a sudden, maybe that number 9 going to be a competitor, as here comes Thomas Bressi again, looking a little bit lower, but not finding his own groove as they race down the back straight once more. Now let's see what happens here. The number 29 machine has only 25 more laps to go for what could be his most impressive victory on his Ignite Series season, let alone his career. Right now, of course, he finds himself leading for the first time for more than a lap tonight, and he's kept the string alive. Although Thomas Bressi has led more than 50 already, it looks like competition for the man who has held himself up and in front for the majority of this event, no matter what happens, leading from the pole and keeping himself out in the way. Tarbuck was several seconds back as recent as when we went down to pit road. All of a sudden, that is not at all the case. It looks like for Tarbuck here, he's going to have himself instead a lead that looks to be somewhat manageable. But keep in mind now, Thomas Bressi still has time, and he has himself a set of younger Goodyear rubber. So he'll have the advantage overall when it comes down to the later laps, but he's not using it now, perhaps saving it up. Now Matthew Thunhorse is coming up again on DJ Stagner. The gap between these two drivers still remains about 1/10 of a second, and nothing really has changed. Justin Morton also going to be on the same cycle. All three drivers went down to the same lap. It looks like Morton was eventually able to get by Stagner. And DJ, while of course getting out there up in front of both drivers, let Justin get right back by. And so the number 9 machine of Justin Morton is once again leading this 3-car battle as he was previously to kick off the night. Now Thomas Bressi is going to be 0.2 of a second behind, and it looks like he's not gaining for the time being. Maybe going to be letting off to let Nick Tarbuck burn himself all the way out, but this could be a worrying sign for the 24 crew, who have led all day long, and now they might be seeing it slip into the dust. Nick Tarbuck doing all he can now, and is beginning to show he might have what it takes to hang on until the very end. We'll see whether or not that's permanent here, but Tarbuck is beginning to gain an advantage with 23 laps to go as drivers head through the first 2 turns. With 22 laps to go this coming time by, we'd like to thank our camera providers at TrackCams22.com. For the entirety of the iRacing platform, TrackCams for Gourmets designed custom-made camera sets of the highest quality with realistic visuals and extra angles provided to iRacers who are broadcasters or users who would like to up their replay game. The best broadcasters choose the best cameras, which are found at TrackCams22.com. Visit Facebook.com/TrackCams or TrackCams22.com for more information about the product at hand. We'd love to have you check out TrackCams for Gourmets and become a part of the TrackCams family. Let's crank it up now with 22 laps to go, courtesy of our friends at TrackCams22.com. Now 21 laps to go, and before we continue our crank it up action, Thomas Bressi coming down the straight with a haul of momentum. The 24 looking for the opportunity now to bring the race lead back to the 24 team, and Bressi now looking to the inside, has himself back in the mix. Up and in front, he'll slide up high. Nick Tarbuck gonna go down low, and it looks like no dice. Thomas Bressi back up and ahead with 20 laps remaining. Nick Tarbuck now maybe looking for a chance to come right back, but keep in mind, Thomas has a younger set of rubber. All things considered, he should have the advantage here, and Nick Tarbuck surely knows it. Nick's going to look up high, maybe look a little bit further down low. No chance just yet, and he stays right on the back bumper, but there's no chance for him to finish the job, and we'll go back to a few more laps of cranking up the action as Thomas Bressi takes the race lead. "17 laps remaining, and now Thomas Bressi finds himself up and ahead with the race lead all over again. It looks like tonight it might be falling in the hands again of that 24 crew who have been so dominant from the very beginning. Thomas will be en route for 2 consecutive victories if he seals the deal, and it looks like while it's not guaranteed, he's in a real good spot to do so, as now the JTM drivers, Matthew Thunhorst and Justin Morton, once again go at each other, and it looks like Justin Morton here just ahead of Matthew Thunhorst. Morton overall has had the advantage in this stint, but Thunhorst has had the advantage throughout the race, and now it's coming to a head with Brad Patton looking at the both of them and maybe finding an opportunity to make it by, either of which would get him up inside the top 5. His opportunity is now getting as high as 4th from 22nd on the grid. Brad has a chance to do so, but he's not done working at it just yet. Let's see if he can get by maybe one of these drivers and then go for the next, because so far they've been in the line of 3 cars all throughout this stint, just getting tighter and tighter and tighter once more. Really little else that can be done right now for Brad Patton, but deciding to stay in the back of this train, waiting in the wings for something to happen, and if it does happen, of course, he's got the opportunity to strike first, and the drivers just ahead of him. This is the closest group of drivers right now in the field, with the exception of the top 2 drivers, because while Matthew Thunhorst and, of course, Justin Morton find themselves very close to each other, as does Brad Patton, Nick Tarbuck and Thomas Bressi remain as tight as it gets. 15 laps to go this time by, and it looks like still Nick Tarbuck is right there with Thomas Bressi, and he has not left his sight. Even though he lost the lead, he is definitely not done battling for the top spot. If push comes to shove, you might see that number 29 once again gain the race lead, maybe off a mistake from Bressi, maybe off of pushing just a little bit harder. We'll see what's next right now for Thomas, as of course the 24 crew and that Exalta Chevrolet are looking to get back to victory lane for another running week. All the while, Nick Tarbuck would like to break that streak as Bressi eyes his 4th victory on the season. We'll see whether or not he can get to it. But now, with only 14 laps to go as he comes across the stripe, it is in his hands to keep it going and go all the way for the checkered. Josh Stoltz right now going to be battling now with the Ryan Potter. And this is the fight for 18th. Right now, Ryan Potter going to have that position. Josh Stoltz is looking for it. And these two drivers are in jeopardy of potentially going one lap down, if it will, of course, go down to green flag racing as it has all night long. There's a serious opportunity for both drivers, Stoltz and, of course, Ryan Potter, to go out of the lead lap category, as we'll take a brief ride on board right now with Josh Stoltz in the midst of the fight. So far, it looks like the advantage still in Ryan Potter's hands. A rookie in Josh Stoltz in his only 3rd start hasn't quite been able to make things work out so far tonight at this oval circuit. Road racing speed he definitely had in the top 5, but otherwise, he's been outmatched tonight. He finds himself in the bottom portion of the field as he's been for the majority of the event. Unfortunately for Josh Stoltz, the only thing that can really come to assist him in that note is the experience. So going week in, week out, getting a little bit more time with these ovals in this series, that's going to be more improvement than anything else. And it looks like for the time being, Josh Stoltz will have to wait to get those laps in and continue to prepare. Michael Stroll now going to be with DJ Stagner with 13 laps to go. Let's take a look at your overall top 10 with, right now, Thomas Bressi leading from Nick Tarbuck in 2nd. 3rd is going to be Braxton Deweese. 4th and Justin Morton. And then 5th is going to be Matthew Thunhorst. 6th place is going to go to Brad Patton at 0-7. DJ Stagner going to be 7th, and the 8th spot is heading to Michael Stroll. 9th, Rob Ackley, and Chuck Sweeting concludes the top 10. Right now, 21st remains Cody Smith. 1 lap down as it stands for the number 18 crew for Next Level Racing, and we'll be right back after our final messages of the day from Next Level Racing. From here on out, we'll bring you uninterrupted coverage of the Brickyard 250. For the highest quality sim racing performance products on iRacing, visit nextlevelracing.com for more information, and we'll be right back after our final promotional messages of the day. 10 laps remaining, and it looks like even though Thomas Bressi hasn't pulled away far, he's pulled away enough to solidify himself once again as the race leader of the Brickyard 250. For those of you joining us live on FTN of the final stretch of this race, I'm your host, David Kreutz, commentating and producing, and this is what it's all about now, the battle for the victory, as close as it's been all night long. The man who's dominated this race, the number 24 of Thomas Bressi, looking to come around on the checkered flag. However, I wouldn't say the fight is over by any stretch of the imagination, because here comes Nick Tarbuck. He's still a quarter of a second away, and another driver is also making a move, Braxton Deweese, who has 2 laps of younger rubber relative to Nick Tarbuck and a lap younger relative to Thomas Bressi. So it looks like there might be an advantage for another driver who we haven't mentioned all too much of yet. That's the number 13, who has been a silent third-place competitor for the majority of this event. Looks like he might be getting a little bit louder now that he's been shrinking the gap lap after lap, 10th after 10th. Quicker than both drivers ahead of him that time by. Maybe now, Braxton Deweese has the opportunity to put himself in the picture and battle for the race win, even if it doesn't look like a guarantee just yet. If there's anyone else that can put themselves into this picture, it would be Braxton, as he's 7 seconds ahead of 4th place Justin Morton, which goes to show how far away the top 3 have gotten relative to the rest of the field. It looks like right now, if you're not in the top 3, you are out of the winning battle practically entirely. Now, you see this 3-car battle continues. Morton, Thunhorst, and Patton. However, the order is still unchanged. It looks like position-wise, majority of the top 10 has stayed relatively stagnant. It's going to be Michael Stroll, Rob Ackley, Chuck Sweeting in another battle. However, that's the very tail end of the top 10. And so far, all those drivers look to be relatively content where they are running. You can see right now, 9th place in Rob Ackley, 8th place is Michael Stroll. Chad Mikus tonight, he was with this group of drivers. He still is a little bit further back than he'd like to be in 11th. And of all the domination, intimidation racing drivers tonight, he has fallen back, the most of which, and it looks like for Mikus, a relatively unspectacular performance. Even though it isn't anything terrible necessarily, it looks like the top 10 it's going to be quite tricky for him to get to it. 7 laps to go this time by as the field continues to get a little bit tighter up in front. That's because now leaders are coming up to those lappers that we mentioned previously. Thomas Bressi with 7 remaining will have to navigate around, among others, Josh Stoltz and Kyle Cooper. We'll see how he deals with that. Ryan Potter too, as he gets up to that point this time by. A lap or 2 from now, he'll be in the lap traffic. It looks like it's almost undeniable he'll have to pass them. Six laps remaining for Thomas Bressi. Now the leaders are going to be about 52 seconds ahead right now of Ryan Potter, who now finds himself in the back of this pack. It looks like he's given up that position to Josh Stoltz, and Kyle Cooper also getting through. These drivers are battling for 18th overall, and it looks like now Kyle Cooper has the advantage. He'll have a few drivers worth a buffer to maybe help him out here, as it looks like he will go down to the inside, swooping low, then coming up top, although no signals yet of surrendering for the race leaders, who have not put any signs in for being rather aggressive just yet. Braxton Deweese now within a second of race leader Thomas Bressi, and with 6 laps to go, he's made up 3/10 in the past 3 laps. Maybe the pace is just enough to get there for second, but no guarantees just yet. The lap traffic could be the saving grace for Braxton and Nick Tarbuck alike, but for now, Thomas Bressi looks to be confident in his stuff, and he's got only 5 laps left as he comes up on those lappers at a pace that looks to be manageable, and the lappers are once again single file. No cautions today. A caution right now would send us into overtime, so we are in the position of this event not having more than 2 green flags left at the very minimum, and no more than 5 green flag laps left at the very maximum. This comes down to the very end of the race, no matter how you slice it here. Very few drivers have made it to this point competitively, and while there are many on the lead lap, few have been up in front with the top three for more than half the night, and now you can see the top three are in their own world. They're now going to be coming up on the lappers again, and this will be the first set of drivers lapped truly off of pace alone over the course of 100 laps. They did a rather good job of staying up there in the lead lap category, but now Ryan Potter might have to say goodbye. As you can see here, Thomas Bressi dives low, given no trouble, and Thomas will make it by, and Ryan Potter can concede 1 spot, 2 spot, and 3 spot, but that's going to cost Braxton. He gets loose and now has to get back on the way much slower. Braxton got around, but not quick enough, and that's going to be bad news now for the number 13 team, as it's going to leave the number 2 spot, Nick Tarbuck, relatively unharmed, and Thomas Bressi got by quickly as well. So, 3 laps to go this time around, and looks like the only 2 other hopes that Braxton might have are these other 2 lappers. Let's see how they negotiate around Josh Stoltz right up next, as Stoltz is going to have a chance to move up top, maybe down the straightaway or through the corners. Thomas Bressi now keeping his eyes peeled on what the next chance is to make it by the lappers. Josh Stoltz not yet going to give up that position. It looks like he is relatively content with the lap times he's running and doesn't look worried about catching up there to the top 2 drivers, both of which they got up in the wall. Braxton Deweese going to avoid that ever so slightly and stays within 1 second of getting up to the lead. Braxton now going to be clearly a little bit quicker than Nick Tarbuck, although Thomas Bressi staying at about the same pace, hasn't shown any signs of degradation to the tire that are similar to Nick Tarbuck, who is battling him for the majority of this run. Now look further back, and we're going to see old side-by-side racing. Rob Ackley coming up on Michael Stroll. This is the battle for 8th, and it looks like now the DIR teammates are going at each other. Down low, there's Rob Ackley. He's got Michael Stroll up top, and there's the number 75 of Chuck Sweeting, bottling ever so slightly, and Ackley now having a chance to take the spot. That's the move for 8th, and it could be the move for 9th now as Chuck Sweeting tries to get by Michael Stroll. No dice just yet, but they're going to be side by side now, coming across the line. Popsicle sticks, 2 laps to go. Up in front, it looks like Thomas Bressi's gotten away, and if there's any battle, it will be that for 2nd. Braxton Deweese stays right behind, and he keeps himself in very close sight of Nick Tarbuck. We'll see what Nick decides to do about it here, because it looks like Braxton Deweese will be an unavoidable force for the final 2 laps of this race. More like a lap and a half now as Thomas Bressi sets his sights on turns 3 and 4 and will make it down the start-finish line with the race lead. 1 lap to go. This time by, and it's going to be all about Thomas Bressi holding fort and having the advantage as he comes to the white flag here in Indianapolis. Last lap for Thomas Bressi after he won last season. He did so dominantly last week anyway, and now it looks like he has a chance to put himself alone in the wins category with 4 on the season to this point. The battle for 2nd will progress. Further on back, other battles going to be coming to a close, but for tonight, Bressi has not had to worry in the slightest. He has been by far the quickest driver, and now as we make it down that back straightaway one last time, there will be a move potentially made for 2nd, but for the lead, it's as open and shut as it's been all night long. Leading more than 80 laps on the day, Thomas Bressi has been dominant from the jump and will come across the line to collect his 2nd straight victory in 2 consecutive weeks. JTM comes back to victory lane as a team with a triple top 5, and Thomas Bressi will kiss the yard of bricks and win here in Indianapolis. Checkered flag flies for Thomas Bressi, with Braxton Deweese coming home barely in 2nd, and then Nick Tarbuck in 3rd. Morton and Thunnors conclude the top 5 at the line, and Thomas Bressi is a winner again in the Ignite Series, only having to wait a week from his last win to come back on top. What a win for Thomas Bressi and the 24 team. It's their 4th of the season, and they get it done for back-to-back races. The Brickyard is theirs, and they win from Braxton Lewis, Nick Tarbuck, Justin Morton, and Matthew Thunnors to round out the top 5. Brad Patton, 9 seconds back, going to be in 6th, and then they're 7th in DJ Stagner, Rob Ackley in 8th, Chuck Sweeting 9th, and Michael Stroll to conclude the top 10. 11th place then goes to Chad Mikus with Don Stevenson 12th, Jacob Fife 13th, Vinny Tigner 14th, and Seb Miller P15. Brian McFerrin comes home 16th on the day with Adam Wood 17th, Kyle Cooper 18th, and Josh Stoltz 19th with Rob further back, Ryan Potter in 20th. How about 21st for Cody Smith, Andrew Schaub in 22nd, Boomer Logan 23rd, and Kyle Brooks 24th. Brandon Bernhardt comes through in 25th with Blake Gordon 26th, Alan Rowell 27th, Sean Carmody 28th, and Forrest Smith the 29th and final driver, as we are due to see a celebration for the JTM team once again as they've won here in Indy. 2nd straight week. Thomas Bressi coming out victorious, and it's about time he burns down the house here in Indianapolis with a packed crowd of fans. And he'll be all over the racing circuit to end the night here as he begins his celebration in the virtual Brickyard. And Bressi with a quick burnout to finish off the day. Celebration might have been quick, but a long put-together effort from start to finish tonight, and it all works out at the very end. And so, Thomas Bressi getting to celebrate once more with the checkered flag in hand. How about we get a word from the driver who got it done today? Bressi, a winner again in Indianapolis. And we'll be talking to all your top 3 drivers, but let's kick off with your back-to-back race winner, the 24 of Thomas Bressi. JT Motorsports, no stranger to success and victory this season, and it looks like now Bressi standing alone with 4 victories, and it looks like tonight, another one of which here in the Brickyard. Thomas, how do you feel? The checkered flag being yours, and overall, another dominant performance, this time again at an oval.
Yeah, great. Just like I said last week, I mean, if I'm driving the 24, I kind of have to do a good job here. Otherwise, what am I doing? So, I'm glad it worked out. I love this place. I know it's not a favorite for everybody, especially because, you know, when you don't have clean air, it's hard to pass. But I always look forward to this place. There's something special about it. So, you know, I always look forward to seeing it on the schedule. Happy we were able to come back and put on a good performance. Got the pole. You know, led it halfway again, led the most laps, won the race, so another max points night, which was great. It almost wasn't. The last pit stop didn't quite go to plan, but glad it worked out in the end at least.
And it looks like it got a little bit closer on that final pit stop than you intended, but overall you had a real good grip on the field from flag to flag here. Indianapolis, the pace coming to you naturally. From qualifying, it seemed like track position really dictated where you'd be. How important do you think that pole position was for you for the rest of the race?
I mean, it definitely changed a lot. It definitely helped. Because, I mean, there was a point where, like, after the last pit stop, when I came out behind Nick, I definitely, like, I knew I was faster. I mean, because I drove right up to him, and I could just sit right there. And I was thinking, I'm like, this is going to play out exactly like it did the first run, where he was tucked up under my deck lid and then dropped like a cinder block. So, which started to happen, and then I don't even really know what happened. I don't even remember if he just missed the bottom a little bit in 2 or what happened there. And I had enough of a run off of 2 down the back. I was like, I don't really care at this point. I just have to go for it because I'm probably not going to get many more chances. And I knew Braxton was closing, so I was able to at least get by him there and just kind of dictate the pace I needed a little bit. And then, you know, Nick kind of, I guess, helped hold Braxton off a little bit with his dirty air. But yeah, I mean, that's the thing that's always tricky with this place. I mean, the car was free. You could definitely get it to be loose. It's just depending on how disciplined you were with what line you were running, and what your brake bias and stuff was, how you were entering the corner, all that stuff. And it's tricky, I guess, but the qualifying definitely helped. Obviously, kind of let me get into a rhythm and clean air at the beginning of the race, and I felt like I just kind of got better as the race went.
Looks like tonight progressing very well when it comes to that long-term speed. You and Nick Tarbuck having a little bit of a battle there, but all things considered, younger rubber got you there at the very end. It looks like the undercut didn't quite work out for the 29 there. You seem to split the pit stops quite even. How was it out there in that final run where maybe there was any chance of losing that win?
Not great, because I wanted to go a lap further. I wanted to pit when Braxton did, but as soon as Nick pitted, I'm like, I got to react, because I wasn't sure. I mean, I felt like I had them covered. There were points during the runs where they were a little better than I was. Like the middle of that second run, Braxton was better, but then like the back third of it, I was better, and the first third I was better. So it was kind of just as I knocked my headset off my face. That's good. But yeah, I mean, just it. I wasn't like, I wanted to go a little further for the sake of the tires and just not having to think about the fuel. That was the big thing, because I stretched it the first run. I think most of us did, to try to make the 2-stop work. And ultimately just, I had like 0.2 gallons left, I think, when I took the checkered. So, and obviously Nick was pitted a lap before me, and he ran out. So I was shocked he made it as far as he did. So, I was worried for sure, but I'm obviously glad it worked out. So.
And looks like tonight another performance coming your way as we finish off the regular season red hot move momentum, 2 consecutive wins and the first back-to-back winner on the season. We move on next to another circuit, which of course due to bring some excitement, but an intermediate at that, Kansas. Maybe your eyes are set on 3 victories in a row with 2 great wins back-to-back here. Looks like the regular season ending great for you regardless of what's up next. But Tornado Alley, how are you feeling about that circuit?
I mean, I love Kansas. Kansas is a fun racetrack. I'm curious to see, if we're kind of able to move around a little bit. Sometimes you kind of get stuck running the top lane or 2 up by the fence, but I'll see I think the last time we ran there, the groove widened out a fair bit, so that was good, but we'll see what happens next week. But yeah, like you said, I mean, just ending the regular season anyways, on a positive note, or at least trending in the right direction. But I feel like I said last week, I feel like the pace and the potential has been there all year, and just haven't closed the deal for one reason or another, and stuff out of my control sometimes, things that were in my control and whatever else. But at least we're starting to put some more points on the board here when it matters.
And now getting the victories and points on the table, as you mentioned there, Thomas. 4th victory on the season, and once again, nearly flag to flag here from Indianapolis. If you have anyone else you'd like to shout out, or any final messages, the floor is yours.
Yeah, just again, as always, shout out to the JT Motorsports guys, Justin and Matt, both of them getting a top 5 tonight. So congrats to them on both putting together really good runs. Just the series admins, all of the partners that the series has, and sponsors that help us, put everything on. You, of course, for doing the broadcasts and making the races enjoyable for people to watch. Thanks to everybody that tuned in. Hope you all enjoyed it. And yeah, that's it.
Thomas Bresci coming home with a 4th victory on the campaign here, winning the Brickyard 250. We thank you for your time.
Take care, man.
And with Thomas on the move, JT Motorsports once again race winners and a triple top 5, but 2 drivers on the podium stand in between a triple podium for the crew, and Braxton Deweese at the very last moment got by and got through for a 2nd place finish. Braxton on the day coming home in 2nd as a result of some last lap movement, and Braxton P2 after long racing. Looks like you took the youngest tires in the podium to the 2nd place finish here. How you feeling?
Feel pretty good with the 2nd place finish. This is one of the home tracks that we have. I know we raced at Kentucky earlier in the year, but also having Kentucky and Indianapolis, I'll kind of consider them both the home tracks. So happy with the 2nd place, but I just didn't really think I really had much there, to be honest with you. I felt like I was saving, but it ultimately wasn't. So, definitely go back and look at it, see what I did wrong. I feel like there's a couple settings I probably could have changed to do something a little different, probably change my line a little different as well. But I'm still happy to get around Nick there as he ran out of fuel coming out of four and be able to come home with second.
It looks like very well planning out that final stint, which seemed to matter the most for you. Quiet inside the top 10 most of the night, but you decided to stretch your second run a little bit longer, giving you some time to maybe push further on this last run. 32 laps to be exact. How was it putting yourself in this position to perhaps have the tire advantage till the very end?
Well, I seen Nick when he pitted there. I was like, well, that's a tiny bit early than what I was honestly thinking that he was gonna pit. So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna pit the next time by, and then I saw that Bressie was pitting. I was like, well, I don't want to pit this time. I'm gonna go another lap because I actually realized going down the backstretch, it was still gonna be pretty close on fuel. So if it was another lap, I don't think Bressie would have made it. He might have, but it would have been pretty damn close. But yeah, I was just hoping that the tires could come into play, even though with it being only one lap. I knew that on the long run I didn't really have much, and they would just pull away from me and gain. So I try to just take it easy, and I was hoping that they would race super hard, and they honestly were for a while, and I was gaining a little bit, taking a little bit advantage of it, but I felt like I probably could have taken a little bit more advantage of that had I had a little bit more practice and a little bit more trying just a couple different things, just seeing what's a little bit faster on the long run and whatnot. But there's always next week to try to see if we can figure it out. Although it's a different track, we can try to practice a little more or try to figure something out, try a little something different, and see if it works.
You talk about trying something different. Kansas up next on the table here, and then we have, of course, Richmond to end the regular season. How do you feel about going back to the intermediate for our last intermediate race of the regular campaign?
Hopefully we should do pretty well. We're in Kansas in the league earlier this year, and we ran pretty well. We almost came out with the win, just messed up the strategy just a teeny bit, and got a little tight on the long run because we didn't put enough fuel in it. So hopefully we don't make that mistake again. We can hopefully be one spot better tonight and from that one race and come home with the win. So it's going to be around the wall, but if we can make it work down below, I feel like that's gonna really work too. But it was a little tight up against the wall, what I was remembering. So I'm gonna have to work on that to try to make sure we keep some rotation if we go up there. And like I said, hopefully we could be one spot better than tonight.
Looking to chase the checkered flag next week, Braxton DeWeese, your best run so far coming after the summer break in second on the day. If you have any final messages or shout-outs you'd like to give, we'd love to hear it.
Yeah, for sure. Big shout out to Alan's Arts Images on the car. I had him on pretty much the whole entire year, and gonna have him on pretty much the entire rest of the year. So big shout out to Kelly and Randy over there at Alan's Arts Images. I really appreciate them, and I also of Interstate Ford. They're a huge support to me, and I hope to keep the relationship up, and just try to promote them as much as I can, and get them out there and try to do the best that I can as well, so it looks good. So big shout out to Interstate Ford, as well as Bennett's Public Jeans on Main, Deweese Renovations, Boot 34 Diecast, and Rival Photography, Blaze Designs, Evan Pineda Designs as well. I also want to give a shout out to Bully Dog Coffee Company for 10% off there for whatever coffee you try or if you've already had. So big shout out to him for letting me use that, and I appreciate the league for being able to go green. That was pretty cool. I actually went green in my one league yesterday too. So it's nice to go green in some races on iRacing. You don't really see it in real life anymore, and to see it on iRacing it's pretty crazy. So big shout out to everybody in the field to make it happen. And hopefully we can keep that up. I know a lot of guys in the chat, they're always talking about how we got a good group of guys here, and that they're really appreciative of it, and I agree with them. We have some run-ins here and there. We might say some stuff, but all in all, at the end of the day, we all respect each other, and we all have pretty good race like we just had. So just a shout out to all of them in the league and everybody that runs it, as well as you doing the broadcast. We were able to do the camera tonight. Hopefully it worked, and hopefully it was all well. Different little perspective. I do my streams on YouTube as well, so we got a couple different things going on that I just started, and hopefully we can keep it up and have some good runs, and hopefully it all just comes together at the end of the year as well.
There we have it. Braxton Deweese, second on the day here from the Brickyard, flag to flag, and you come through second place when it all comes to the checkered flag indeed. Thank you for your time.
All righty, David. Have a good one.
Braxton on the move. One more driver to speak of who had some fuel troubles at the very end, as you can see there on your screen. Nick Tarbuck, a podium today, and a top two perhaps just barely slipping through as you went for the undercut in that final stint. It got you up to the top three and had you leading for a little while, but you couldn't hang on for that second spot and having to settle for third. And overall, a positive night for the 29 team.
Yeah, man, I can't ask for much more than that, really. You know, Bresci had this thing covered from the start. It was honestly just impressive seeing him pull away every time, no matter how long the run went. So congrats to Bresci, and congrats to Braxton as well on a well-deserved second. It was really fun racing with those two guys up at the front all day. But yeah, man, third place, I ran a gas right at the end, so the undercut probably wouldn't have worked anyway, but had to try something, because if you follow the leader, all you're going to do is follow the leader. So gave it a shot, but, you know, podium still ain't bad.
And by no means a bad finish. Matter of fact, you kept yourself up there and even had a chance to battle for the race win. It seemed like if there was any other way for you to get there, of course, nobody else had tried it, and you did something different to make it a very close fight. What led you to the decision there to make that last move? Of course, it seemed to have almost given you success in collecting the checkered.
Yeah, it was something the team conjured up, actually. After the first pit stop, we decided that there was a thought that undercutting would probably work to get us out in front, and clean air was definitely a good thing to have. And a lot of the team was going to benefit from undercutting, so I figured I would join in. I'm pretty safely locked in, so what's the worst could happen, you know? So it was kind of just a thought that the team thought of, and it ended up almost working out. You know, it was really just either I had to get that and keep the lead and not give it up, which unfortunately I did, and I would have ran out of gas either way. Or I had to get tires as late as I could and save, and then just hope that Bresci and Braxton battled and burned their tires up. But, yeah, man, I can't be upset either way.
All things considered, a great way to keep yourself up in the hunt here. The regular season coming to a close and looking to lock yourself in 2 more races. You're in good standing right now. Kansas up next. It's a track that we've seen previously in this league, so it's something maybe not necessarily new. All things considered, though, intermediate, it could be maybe not random per se, but there's a lot of drivers who are very, very quick at those types of tracks. How do you feel about your chances coming up next?
It's going to be way closer than this one, I think. This one got spread out. It was such a long and grueling race, especially going caution-free, which is, like, super impressive. But, yeah, man, it was a mental and even a little bit physical of a battle, this one. I think the next one is going to be more side-by-side, managing traffic, managing racing your competitors a lot closer, especially with Kansas being multi-groove as it is and the high line being so fast there. It's going to be pretty insane. I wouldn't anticipate caution-free, but then again, you never know. But I think that I do pretty well at Kansas in the 1.5 miles, so I think I can figure it out. I may not get a top 3, but I think I can go for a top 5 and keep the good runs going.
And it looks like top 5s or more. That's what this 29 team is looking at. Nick Tarbuck, overall, 3rd on the day here. And if you have any shout-outs you'd like to give or any last messages on the day, we'd love to hear it.
Yeah, man. Well, of course, I want to thank you, as always, for putting on a great broadcast. I want to thank the admins for putting on a good race. Thanks, everybody, for showing up tonight and racing. It was really fun. Thanks to all the viewers, all the boys back home, mom, dad, my wife, and all the people in the other Discord. Thank you all for watching. And yeah, man, I guess that's about it.
There we have it. Nick Tarbuck getting through 3rd on the day here from the virtual Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And we thank you once again for your time.
Thanks, man. Have a good one.
And now with Nick on the move, we've heard from all your top 3 drivers. Nick Tarbuck, who came home in 3rd. Braxton Deweese coming home runner-up. And overall, Thomas Bresci getting it done in dominant fashion. Race victory again here in Indy. What a performance for the 24 crew, getting it done on top of the board with nobody else seeming to be anywhere near until those final 20-some laps. And now the regular season comes down to 2 races. Stick with us live on FTN for more coverage from Kansas and Richmond. Same time, same place on Monday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern as the Integrity Ignite Series wraps up the regular season and then moves on to the championship race in the playoffs. Tonight, you've been watching from the virtual Indianapolis Motor Speedway in the Brickyard 250 here in the 20th race of the 2024 Integrity Ignite Series season. I've been your host, David Kreutz, commentating and producing all of tonight's action. If you enjoyed, make sure to leave a like on the stream, subscribe to the channel. As always, we'd love to have you stick around for the rest of our broadcasting all throughout the year, and we hope you enjoyed all of tonight's racing. If you'd like to join as a competitor or a viewer, check out the FTN Discord server and scan the QR code on your screen for up-to-date information on each and every race that we broadcast. Thank you all for watching tonight live on FTN, and we hope you have a fantastic night.